Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Philosophical Fridays. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to be a little bit on the quieter side. So, do go ahead and turn up the volumes of your headphones because we're not going to get much louder than this. Except we both are NE DOMs, extroverted intuitive DOMs. So, it is possible that our voices might rise in volume, but for the most part, we're going to try to keep it nice and chill. Today, I have with me Dominik, who has been on this channel once before in the past for like 8 hours. Dominik, do you want to say hello?
Hello.
I did set myself up for that. So, hello everyone. Um, we're gonna philosophize while also chillaxing tonight because it's one of those nights where we just want to philosophize and chill. You know what I'm saying? Um, and the topic that we had in mind to go ahead and start our conversation off is that of debate and accepting criticism and that kind of realm. I don't know about you guys, but I've noticed a lot of people being object uh, to criticism, trying to get away from it. Um, and we're going to talk about that. I'm going to hand it off to you, Dominic. Do you have somewhere you'd like to start with this topic?
First off, it's useful that I'm in ENTP because there's a stereotype. ENTPs loving debate, which I can personally attest to. I like debate. Um, um, well, okay, where should we start? I think debate is a really good way to um, hear the opinion of people who will disagree with you and maybe reinforce your own, like, not reinforce, I mean, improve your own ideas and maybe find flaws in them or discard them completely or convince other people of your opinion.
Yeah, with debate, have you seen people? Do you have any examples of people near to you that have not wanted to engage in the debate because they don't want to subject their idea to such criticism?
Yeah, like especially lately in school, I had an exchange of school. I don't want to explain the German school system; it's complicated. But um, well, I went to a new school, and like, well, I tried out to discuss some ideas more, and I I realized that the people there, they really like to say that when someone disagrees with them, like, yeah, you have your opinion, I have my opinion, yeah, and that's it actually. And then they don't want to discuss or anything. I I, I don't like that um, attitude. I think because I don't know. I feel like it's just that approach. It feels to me like just shutting off problematic situations, even though I don't think these are necessarily any problems. So one more specific example might be I was a bit upset about the way the school system handles the like I think religion and philosophy. Um, it's it's just it was a bit problematic because can't have both at the same time, and I wanted to have both at the same time. I didn't like that, and then I said something equivalent to retarded to the system because it, like, okay, well, in German it makes sense. It's more like being hindered in a its actual goal, which is, I think, teaching um, things and making the students learn new things. But well, if it's if the, okay, I don't want to go into the specifics, but it was kind of like hindering that learning process. So I said that word, like retarded. Uh, this is the equivalent of it in English. And some, well, a girl didn't like that word in of itself. And specifically, that word shouldn't be said around her. And then I said, oh, okay, sure. It, well, I can understand that, but firstly, like, why just that word? And just because it can be used in a negative context, like describing people, or you know, another argument I had was that it's um, it's a bit if you don't like want to say that word as if it didn't exist. Well, the people like someone like Nick Vujicic, I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. And he has like no arms and no legs, and he's like still gotten pretty far. Like just the fact that he's a known person is a good, you know, like it's definitely an achievement. And I think that not wanting to say that he, well, obviously has more difficulties than others. Um, I think not wanting to use that word kind of diminishes that achievement to people like him. But um, I couldn't really articulate these arguments because I was trying to just be patient at first. Um, I had these ideas for the arguments
Hey,
after
before you
interview.
get too far, can you actually? People are asking that you go a
Oh,
little closer to your mic so we
shit.
can hear you better.
I'm sorry. Okay. So, where was I? Right. I made these arguments after I talked to her. So because she said that she didn't want to discuss it, before I was having these arguments, I couldn't articulate them anymore, and I intentionally didn't say anything beforehand because I wanted to handle it a bit more calmly. I felt like I shouldn't be too aggressive there, and like it's just now it's like more a problem. The problem is like on my side because like it's not yet resolved. I don't understand. I can't really understand and respect why she thinks that way. And also, I'm supposed to not say that word. So that's because I use that word for a reason specifically. Now I like have one word less to describe situations when I'm around her, which is well, I'm not really, I'm not really like doing. I'm not gonna not say it, but like still, it's not yet resolved, and I think that's just not cool.
Yeah, I think you're bringing up a really good point, which is that a lot of times people want us to limit our vocabulary because of reactions that people have to certain words. Um, and I mean, honestly, Gehinder, the word that you're using, isn't exactly a full crossover to English, is it? Like, is it 100% the same thing, even?
Well, the German word is behindert, so
Mm,
Behindert, and that's well, it's not. I just think that um like how do you say the um or like not origin, but like the base of that word is like the same. So because it's both um, related to being hindered at something. I well, I think that just but like emotionally retarded is that equivalent to it. It's actually not that hard to explain. I think. But yeah, I don't know why I'm having so much problem with this. Oh, well, hindered and be hindered, be hindered basically have the same word like source. I would say
Mm,
origin.
the same
While
source, but
while
not the
retarded,
same
huh?
so like the same source, but not the same like colloquial
Yeah,
using. Okay.
yeah. Emotionally, it's not the same. Um, it's more equivalent to retarded, I think.
Hmm. So, I mean, in another way, that's a really important point, actually, is that emotions and people's reactions to things that you say actually are, I think, probably one of the biggest reasons why um, debate is difficult to have. Because I find even with myself sometimes there's people in the comments where I have to read what they say, step away, and come back like an hour later when I've like cooled off from reading it and then actually like give them a good response as opposed to my emotional immediate
Mm-hmm.
reaction to what they've said. Because often I find that when people say something that triggers your emotion, there's probably something right about it that you don't want to accept, or if you're feeling very emotional about something, you have to step back and ask yourself, why am I so emotional about this? Why do I care so much? Why is this affecting me so much? Because there's no real reason to get so emotional about something, especially when the things that the other person is saying is to try to help, right? Because in most cases debate is not just for the sake of disagreement, but for the sake of understanding. Usually someone is debating you because they want to understand your point better, because for whatever reason they don't understand one aspect of it, which is generally what I hear. They're like, I don't agree with that. I don't understand how you can possibly believe that or go with that. This is why I think you're wrong. And I think people attach themselves too much to what they've said, to where when they get told that what they've said is wrong, they feel personally attacked by that.
Mm-hmm. Mm, yeah, I think in these situations where you get emotional, I think it's very important to try to get back to that point where both parties are civilized and have the same goal of understanding each other and stuff like that. Um, and
And oh, sorry.
no, no, go ahead.
You were saying earlier that you actually lost the point and the arguments that you had because you were trying so hard to be patient with the other person. Um, what do you feel like caused you? Well, what, or I guess, what's a better way to make sure that you don't lose sight of what you want to argue, but also stay respectful of the other person when they say something like, I can't let you use that word, even if it feels like, why in the heck can't I use this word? It's a word that accurately describes it. Like they've said, now this word is out of limits. How do you maintain focus on what you need to say and remain respectful at the same time?
Well, I actually it wasn't that. Um, like I didn't have to stay really composed. It was just that if I was too like offensive in that conversation with my argumentation, then that would have been problematic. Um, but yeah, I think it can help to acknowledge where the other person might be right and is right, but then also say where exactly you disagree. A lot of times, I think um, in a conversation, when there are two sides, it can seem like the other person, like, not what, not seem like, but it can turn into something where both sides just villainize each other, um,
Hmm.
which, well, most of the time isn't really true. Um, and yeah, I think you can see, like, I think that's a good sign of a bad debate, because it's just, well, if you don't think that the other person tries to do something good, then, well, why are you even, like, what are you even doing talking to them? Um, it's just gonna end in like name calling and stuff like that. Um, maybe even like worse if like other people have to um, um, come into the whole scenario. So yeah, I think it's best to avoid that, and to always emphasize points where you agree. And so yeah, um,
Yeah, that actually reminds me of a technique that at my work we use to deal with customers who are upset or don't like a certain situation. There's like a very specific tactic that we use that shows empathy, um, and also helps guide the conversation back in the direction you want. Now, this is used for sales and technical support, but I think it's actually really valid for an actual debate. So basically, the whole essence of the structure is to restate basically what this person has said. So, okay, so it sounds like you're saying that you don't want me to use this word because this word really makes you upset. And then the next thing that you do is, kind of put yourself in the other person's shoes. So, in the situation, like, there are words or there are things that upset me, and I definitely want to make sure that you have a good experience in this because I want us both to be able to come to a conclusion at the end. And then you um, say, like, hey, I'm not going to use this word, and let's go ahead and move forward with our debate, so that way we can come to some kind of conclusion. How does that sound?
was that to me the
Oh,
question?
no, no, no. That was just like the example.
Hmm. Um, yeah, well, it sounds useful, especially in real life, because it's so structured. Um, over text, I think. Um, over text, I think actually, it depending on the situation, it can be done like just by mm, I think usually a third opinion can help. Um,
Absolutely.
which could actually be a nice segue into different topics in the whole debate thing.
Mhm.
Because a debate between two private people, well, it can be useful if you both are, like, are friendly to each other or neutral. But if it's not that way, usually it's best to just make it like, what do you say, like official, not official, but like um public, as in other people are there, because then they can, as like spectators, um, well, they can, if you recount an experience, they can say if something's wrong, and if just like an additional opinion is needed, then that can help too. And if something's public, then then things like there's something at stake there, at least your reputation. So you also have to try to like behave well, which I feel like automatically makes the arguments better.
Hmm.
And like trolls, etc. They they like they basically, okay, forgot the words to describe it. It's like they make fun of themselves basically, but not really notice it. Yeah, something like that. Oh my English.
No, like I've said before, I'm just continually impressed at the fact of how good your English is. Guys, those of you watching, you might not know this, but this guy lives in Germany. This is not his primary language. Um, I'm sure he speaks English better than like most of the people he goes to school with. Uh, but anyway, I just had to throw that out there. In terms of having a third person, I think that's actually a really valid point. Though my only concern with having a third person is that the third person could take the side of one person.
I was just about to interrupt you and say not just one
Oh,
third
okay.
person, but like more, like maybe 10 or more, or 100. I don't know. Depends.
Yeah, I think um, YouTube is a really great platform for such debates because people can watch you live um, and give their input and be like, whoa, man, where are you coming with this? Um, I was watching a clip from uh, an interview on Joe Rogan with this guy who's a flat earther. And I think that would have been a very beneficial conversation to have live where people could respond. However, it's very possible that the whole audience would have just been like, he's a flat earther. So, you know how
Hmm.
people on the internet react to flat earthers? Unless they are flat earthers. But
Not really, but I can imagine it. Like two approaches, basically.
uh-oh, we have a flat earther in the comments.
What?
Actually,
Do we?
actually, I'm gonna be honest. My boyfriend's uh my boyfriend's brother is actually, he believes that the earth is flat. I actually was engaging in conversation cuz Tim, my boyfriend, was just like, I can't listen to this. This is so wrong. But I was like, you know what? I'll hear you out. Like, go ahead, like, explain to me these reasons. And I mean, the reasons are just so like thin. They're like these thin pieces of string that could so easily be broken, but on like the very, very off chance, there's like the slimmest possibility that they could be true. Like there's like a 1% or like 0.001% chance that they could be true, but that's enough for people to string this whole like theory off of it. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like there's just enough evidence that with like a little room for doubt, you could potentially believe it. Like it is relatively believable, but there's just so much opposing information to it that it's just hard to give it any weight because we've just for so long all believed that the earth is round. um, but it is interesting.
I think, um, well, with conspiracy theories in general, I think I actually saw a video on that. so this might not come from me, but I think it's mostly a mix of this well, this pride of having found something and some hidden knowledge that no one else really has, only a few select people, you could say. And to that, these small little strings of like information, which really are, yeah. Um, and the whole group thing where there's a lot of people that, well, not a lot of people, but very condensed groups of people that reinforce that thought and make it. It's like if you tell a lie 100 times, it becomes true to you. So if you have like, I don't know, maybe a Facebook group of 100 people that are like have all the same opinion on like the Earth and how and its flatness, then well, you'll start to believe it. Like, but yeah, and also once you distrust um big like institutions like maybe the government or like science and like well like universities and stuff like that, then well well it's it's easy to like just not believe in those things then. So if the maybe the government or of a country is sneaky, then that might come about. And I would also say that these like condensed groups of people are a product of a lack of criticism, which you get in a debate too.
Do you think it's a lack of criticism or a lack of listening to the criticism? Because I've seen the
The second.
comments. I've seen the comments. um, but actually, what you're saying with if enough people say it, then they start to believe it. That same exact concept could be used for conspiracy theorists to prove that their idea is correct because so many people are saying the opposite. The quote unquote truth as the majority of people see it, they could say that it's because so many people say it that they all believe it, and that there's no more truth to it than whatever. I can't think of an analogy, but
But well, as you said, okay, they okay, so I would just say, well, yeah, but when people say that the Earth is round, or like a how do you say what's that form?
a globe
Geometrical, a globe.
or a sphere.
Usually there's like some kind of content with that, right? There's something um like arguments or whatever that that are able to prove something, and it's not just a lie that's told over and over again, an empty lie, right? Um, like I mean, wait, what was the turning the argument on its head again? Huh?
We were talking about how you know the the conspiracy theorists could use exactly what you said about how if enough people say it, if you say something enough times, you start to
Oh,
believe it.
well, yeah, but um, there are way more different arguments than just that. I'm not basing my 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 well, I'm not just asserting that the Earth is a globe because a lot of people say that it is. I mean, you could just talk about like stuff like maybe that even like the Egyptians with the pillars. I'm not sure what they are called, where they calculate it with the distance of the shadow with the shadow length. I mean, just these things. I mean, there are a lot of different arguments and like proofs, I would say, that the Earth is flat, isn't flat, and a globe. I, holy shit! I can't believe that I misspoke there. I didn't mean that there's a lot of proof that the Earth is flat. I meant that there's a lot of proof out there, different kinds of proof, not just a lie told over again, that the Earth is in fact a globe.
Okay. Um, I'm getting a little distracted by the comments because um, they're having a debate about your type. They're saying
Mm,
that you seem really introverted, and I'm just
yeah.
gonna say that he's never this quiet or talks this slowly. Like his dad's asleep in the next room over, so he's trying to be quiet. Believe me, he and I talked for like 8 hours the first time we talked.
You could, if you want, you can look at the other stream. I'm I'm a bit more incoherent there, so yeah, you might notice it. It's actually also why I'm trying to be a bit slower to not be as like hard to understand as back then. So yeah, but I like I'm an ENTP.
We've had too many conversations about that. Actually, guys, the reason that he and I talked for 8 hours the first time is because we were trying to understand the difference between our types because we seem really similar in a lot of ways. And I think that when you have lead extroverted intuition, it just there's something about it that it doesn't matter what your middle two functions are, you're going to come off very similarly in a lot of ways, and we do a lot of things very similar. Um, but we debated, well, we got a little off topic because we talked about Germany and politics and the cost of water, um, random things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, and
But
like
we
there's hmm?
But any problems getting off topic, we did come to some really good conclusions. Actually, that's the conversation where we came to the conclusion about extroverted thinking and extroverted feeling being like the self-evident functions,
Mhm.
um, which Megan really liked that terminology. So, Megan, this is your man. Oops, just saying.
Mhm. Right. Where were we? Well, I think we could go back to the lack of criticism.
Hmm.
Um, because I think that's quite dangerous if you try to isolate yourself from different opinions because it's unpleasant. Um, it sure it definitely is unpleasant to you know, because of things like cognitive dissonance, and in debate, the like your opponent will most likely also like reveal those. But especially if you're afraid of being like proven wrong, um, well, either you're just extremely perfectionistic and like, anxious about these things, or you, well, maybe, I don't know, like, just try and look. I don't know. Hmm,
So
it's
when you're saying all these things, it's kind of making me think about the typology community in general, um, where a lot of people are afraid when people question their type. They don't like to hear that people don't agree with what their type is, and they're very closed off. They get very aggressive about what their type is. Um, oh, I had a point.
Mhm.
Help
Yeah,
me out.
yeah, that feeling. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe just wanted to segue into the typology community. Um, no, I actually know that feeling, and that's also, I think, why I didn't really like Dave's superpowers. I'm not sure about like now, maybe a bit more neutral, but like back then it was just like I couldn't access like his data because, well, that costs money, and well, I don't like that's too much money for me, just for the purpose of for like an argument, um or like understanding that. But on the other side, he was um like asserting that people don't know, like that people can't know their own type or stuff like that, and stuff like that. So I didn't like that because, well, like what am I gonna do? Like talk back, write a comment? Like he never would really he never really responded. So I just didn't like that, like blind um, calling out or whatever. But actually, looking back, it kind of made me want to kind of really figure out like the whole thing, because it's not that easy. Um, I think, well, maybe that comes from the introverted thinking, but and the extroverted intuition, that I wanted to just really understand it and like have maybe some kind of idea of what certain things are. Well, well, I just wanna um, like remind, no, wait, mention the whole FETE thing, that they are self-evident to the user, um, like stuff like that, or the wait, oh no, my cam, shit,
No, you froze.
oh my, well,
Well, it's a very
that's just
flattering frozen
yeah,
picture.
is it?
Yes, you're stuck like mid like talking, so it almost
Okay,
looks
so
purposeful.
right, my point was that, or right, so for like maybe the introverted judgment functions, it would be more like, well, that the person's kind of like identifying with it, like stuff like that, right? It kind of drove me to try to understand it. So maybe that's a good point of criticism. However, I feel like it might just confuse, like it's I don't know. Um, I don't want to make this just about like Dave's superpowers or whatever.
No, but I see what you're saying. It's hard to um, even argue against his typing system because in order to know fully about it, you have to pay. And so there's kind of like that barrier. Like they're almost like putting up a wall that's like saying you can't argue. Not that they're not open to listening to the arguments, but just that money's a factor, time,
Mm,
their time. You can leave as many comments as you want, but because they have so many followers, they're not likely to actually read the comments. So I definitely see what you're saying. Um, there are other YouTubers of similar number of followers with similarly popular systems
Mm,
that also do not open themselves up for debate or engage in the debate, even though
mm,
they say that their type is
yeah.
interested in debate.
Are you are you um 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 is that a hidden message? I actually don't know.
Oh, um, it was a little shade, a little bit. I will admit,
Okay.
a certain person who has a system that a lot of people follow quite blindly, actually, to a certain degree. He's got whiteboards and
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Okay. I understand. Mm-hmm.
the whiteboards. Everybody
Yeah.
knows once you say that.
Yeah. That's well, and a lot of categories, different
Yes.
terms,
So
and
actually,
okay.
I'm a little interested what you think because I think that he's a person who's not very open to criticism on his system or his opinions. And I've seen many times where he has jumped to a conclusion and typed somebody off of knowing them 30 seconds to 5 minutes. And when asked, "Have you ever changed your mind on a person's type?" he said, "Only once in all the times that he's typed somebody did he change his mind," which you have to imagine is less than a single percentage with the amount of following that he has and the amount of times he's typed people. What do you think about that? And what,
Well,
like, advice or criticism would you have towards that?
um. Okay. So okay. Wait. Let me restate that. So it's basically that person this like judges like the type quickly, and when asked about how often um how often the person changed their mind on the type, what was the percentage? Um, like what was what you said something about a percentage?
Yeah, he said that he's only ever changed his mind once, a single time.
Okay, that doesn't seem um wait, even when he first started trying to understand the whole thing, even then.
I don't know the exact
Okay,
time
yeah, yeah.
frame, but that's what he
Um,
said.
it doesn't sound very I don't know. That does seem very, how do you say, likely. Um, but like just like hmm, like I don't know enough, I would say, but hmm, I don't know. Sorry. um, do you have like a more specific question?
Yeah, so for an individual, let's just disregard that we're talking about a specific
Okay, good.
individual.
Okay.
You're trying to be so diplomatic. I love it. Okay. Um, so, say you're talking about any individual and
Hmm.
they never are willing to be criticized by the conclusions that they come to, and
Hmm.
they've only ever changed their opinion once. What well, I guess what advice do you have for the people approaching them? And what advice do you have for the person who's not accepting the criticism? Because, I mean, there's probably some kind of reason they don't want to accept the criticism, whether it's ego
Hmm.
or comfort or whatever.
Hmm. Okay, so I think there are mm, many, or like yeah, I think there are multiple reasons or like situations. So like maybe one would be that the person's just immature. In that case, I would like the people that approach that person would just have to, well, be mature enough to somehow like maybe with like well placed questions come like but combined with like showing good faith, um that could be something. So like maybe to be more specific, mm, like if you doubt something about that judgment, you could be like, okay, I'm you could say like first like express your good faith and say maybe that um you actually like the person coming to that, like, okay, so the people coming to that person probably like that like hearing stuff from that person, so they could like say stuff like that, but then say that like it kind of bothers them that XYZ, and that maybe the person could be a bit more open to well, no wait, um it point out the maybe like a contradiction, and then it sadly it seems like not really trustworthy, like because it's just such a big number, or because like it doesn't maybe like it doesn't really seem like the way that um something is being done um doesn't seem like it seems like a lie or whatever, or like just not really, it doesn't seem like it works. But
So,
then
oh, go
for
ahead.
the person that's bad at dealing with criticism, um mm, it's probably good to realize that it's not really a problem to accept criticism, that there are actually many good things that come with it, that you will be seen as more mature, um, that you will now be able to consider a new point of view that's probably more correct than you had before, stuff like that. But like if it's a different situation, like maybe um someone's just like the person that's being criticized has like is acting in bad faith, like from the get-go, then you like what are you gonna do? Like with criticism, it's not it's probably not gonna do much.
Okay, so to kind of summarize what you said, for for approaching somebody who you want to criticize, it sounds like you were starting with a compliment, right? Like you said come at them with good faith, but you also
Yeah,
said, "Hey, I like you and your ideas," basically. So like a compliment,
let
get,
me
warm them up, lather them up, a little bit, get them ready,
mm,
and then say, "Hey, here's where things don't align, they don't make sense." And then say, "Hey, can you clarify this or something?" So like for
mm,
example, "Hey, I really like you so and so. You have really great ideas. I've been following you for a while, but this one thing really caught me off off my rail, man. You said that you've only ever changed your mind once, and I'm a little confused how that's possible. Can you explain a little further why that is?" Um,
mm,
Something like that, or is that even
yeah,
too
but
direct?
it's important that you're not lying, I would say.
Mm,
So because if if like you just say compliments or whatever, firstly it's like just like lying itself isn't good, right?
right.
And on the other side, it's just there are two reasons. Like the first one is that it's more believable if you like really say, like, if you're genuine, and secondly, if the person doesn't trust you, like that you really think like that about them, then well, it's not really, you have the moral high ground basically.
Hmm. Okay, so compliment only so long as it's genuine and honest.
What? Wait, what? Sorry, I was dozing off. Come on.
Oh, did you say you were dozing off? Rude.
No, no, wait. Dozing off means being sleepy.
Yeah,
No, I
that
meant,
that means falling asleep.
no, I just had
Rude.
like tunnel vision
Oh.
because of I was looking at the comments and like the stream.
I yeah, I actually wanted to kind of direct the conversation back at the
Mm-hmm.
comments at this point. Um, and they're kind of talking about criticism. So I'm going to answer that question, Megan. I seek it out probably too much, um, where whenever I put out any kind of opinion in my videos, I'm always like, feel free to argue against me. I don't think I say it exactly like that, but I do say something like along those lines, like, please tell me what you think. I'd love to hear it. And kind of like, because I personally feel like it's important to get multiple viewpoints in order to fully understand something. And if I'm closed off to that, how am I ever going to grow and get better as a person? And if I just constantly think that I'm right about everything, there's going to be a problem eventually with that kind of mentality. Um, Probably because I studied philosophy and I know that I know nothing. So I like to live by that kind of uh, mentality.
Socrates.
Yeah. What about you?
I actually, like, like I'm pretty similar to that. Like, um, I, okay, wait, um, I like to hear people's opinions, and I'm actually more often like I'm sometimes happier when I find out that I disagree with someone on something than when I agree, because like that's really where you see like because like there are so many similarities compared to dissimilarities. So that's how you can really identify someone, I think. And I don't think that's in a negative way, more like in a positive, but that's just
Hmm.
personal opinion. This is a tangent. Um,
So, would you say
but
that you often seek out people who disagree with you so that you can have more of that kind of
I, I,
conversation?
I find that I can respect them more when I understand their point of view. More like when you like someone, well, that's it's a given, right? But um, I like that. I don't know. I like that kind of respect.
Hmm.
On the other side, it's definitely like people that are like neutral to you, but like you're on a good note with them because you've like politely disagreed. They can really be helpful when you have to decide on something and like you need a third opinion, because someone that's agreeing with you on a lot of things will most likely also agree with you on that one. but the person that you disagree with will probably have more like will see more critical points of in your opinion. Um, and yeah, about that whole encouraging others to say their own criticism. I, like I there was a point in time where I didn't even realize that people think that that criticism is bad. Like um I don't know. I think I just it's just super helpful, you know. So um where's my point? Like
Get it out of the air. No, I'm just kidding.
oh my um mm, well yeah, I don't know. I really like to hear different opinions. I feel like I learned something in those moments. Not just as like about the person, but not just about the person, about many
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. I think it can be really exciting to have somebody that you like fully agree with in a lot of ways that can be um, beneficial to find people who agree with you and see things the same way. But at the same time, if you really want to fully develop an idea or um, a system or whatever you're working on, it's really good to have people who disagree. Um, and I agree with one of the points you made, which was that you respect people more when they disagree with you. I'm exactly the same way. I really like when people disagree with me because I don't want people to just take everything that I say at face value. Um, are you still there? Your video went on. It's
Yes.
gone.
Mm,
Okay.
maybe.
Um, but somebody in the comments was asking, have you ever been nihilistic?
Yes.
I know, no hesitation there.
No, it's my I'm trying to handle my cam.
Mm,
Okay, nihilistic. It's usually when I'm really bored for a long period of time. Um, and I don't really do anything. Um, like it's more, but I think it's more just like generally being mm, like in a more like depressed or like demotivated mood. Um, yeah,
mm.
but
Actually, oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
um, I think the approach of like just like trying to take things serious like over time, like just I don't think it's just like if you're in that mood, it's not just like just being like okay now I take things seriously, that won't take it away, right? But like trying to do that, I think um really helps, and like really like trying to engage in things that I think helped me.
Yeah.
And talking to people, I think.
Yeah. Um, Nihilism is something that I feel every day. Very strongly.
Really? Really?
Yes, yes, actually, I know. The perpetual optimist, who'd have believed it? Um, but actually, in a way, it helps me because when you don't think that anything matters, then why shouldn't you put a little bit more energy into things and do things that you really enjoy doing and work on things right now that you can work on? Because if there is no point to any of it, why should you just sit around and do nothing? Is it enjoyable to just sit around and do nothing and just leave yourself to your thoughts? Sometimes. Um,
Wait, what?
huh?
If if something like if things don't matter anyway, and and you say, well, why
And
not just do something?
yeah, if it
Well,
doesn't matter, why not just do something? I mean,
well,
you still feel emotions.
oh, sure, but it's
You're
just
still
like,
experiencing things.
but it's just like, yeah, It doesn't matter what I'm doing.
Yeah, so why
Yeah.
not put a
So,
little choice into what you're doing if it doesn't matter?
well, why did you make that choice?
It doesn't matter why I made the choice. I made the choice.
How?
Because,
On what are you basing your choice?
I mean, what does it matter what I'm basing my choice off of?
Yeah. I mean, I I don't know. I don't really like it that much. That feeling, but yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, there are definitely really dark times with that feeling. But myself personally, in the last couple of years, have been funneling that feeling into a character in one of my novels um, who is, yeah, he just
Is
he just hates humanity in general, which is a little
just
bit.
like you.
Uh, what? He is a part of me. I feel like all my characters are a part of me. They're not me, but they're a part of me. Like, I look at my book as being like a kind of internal dialogue, so to speak. Like,
Hmm.
these are all different parts of me that inside my head, I'm all of them. It just depends when you catch me. You might catch me in this character mode, or you might catch me in that character mode. At some point, you'll catch me in one of them. But they're all. I can feel all of them like they are a part of me. But as I've been writing, they've become more separate and more like their own character. But that's besides the point.
Okay.
Yay! Your camera's working again. You fixed it.
Hopefully, it's like depends on whether or not my cable charges faster than my cam and like needs the energy.
Okay.
Oh shit. Okay. No. Okay. Wow.
um. So, Jeffrey, I want to see that on a T-shirt. Next week. It sounds like a good time frame. So when you have that ready, just let me know. Just saying.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So where were we? People
Uh,
realize that I'm an ENTP. That's cool. Oh shit.
uh-oh. His shit's dying. I guess this is a great place to open up the conversation to questions from the audience. What questions do you guys have? What things have been eating at your mind lately?
Lately.
What'd you say? All I heard was
I
glugly.
you said lately something like that.
Oh, I said, what things have been eating your mind lately? What have you been thinking
Lately.
about lately?
Shit. I hope this. Hmm. This is kind of low. I don't know. I
Talking to
have to
yourself
be
over
very,
there?
yeah, yeah, because, hello. I have to be very careful because it might break down again. Hi.
Hey, that really makes you look like the troll that your type is.
Yeah, I'm seeing it right now.
Just if only your hands were on your keyboard right now, it'd be like perfect.
Like this?
That is literally. You guys have seen that South Park episode or that South Park season, right? About the trolls. Is NE predisposed to nihilism?
Um,
That's a good question. I
well,
think. Oh, go ahead. You go first.
okay, so first off, I think like maybe actually all, I'm not sure. Um, we could actually maybe think about generally intuitive DOMs, but I think in ENPs, especially the introverted sensing, can play a role of that because, like the thing that matters, right, is, well, we would most likely, if ever, notice that with introverted sensing. Um, while the extroverted intuition is like, it's basically like always asking some kind of weird question, right? So
Right.
I can definitely see that. Mm,
Well, I'm gonna throw in a little anecdote
okay.
real fast about how I even got introduced to the idea of nihilism because I personally was always the kind of person that thought that there was a meaning for everything. There was always a meaning for everything that happened. Everything that happened in my life happened for some sort of reason. Like I was a very like I guess you would almost call it spiritual in a way. Like I was just like everything happens the way it's going to happen and it's going to happen that way and it's happening for a reason. Like I don't
Hmm.
know, like having a faith in a higher power kind of thing. And then this one guy I met, and I believe he was an INTP. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure. And he said it isn't directly nihilism, but he said, he believes that he's the only person in this life and everybody around him is a figment of his imagination. Um, And then that made me think, what if that is me and everyone around me is a figment of my imagination? And I met him so that I could understand that everyone around me is a figment of my
Right.
imagination,
Hmm.
which led to nihilistic thoughts. And someone's asking in the comments what nihilism is. It's basically the decision or belief that nothing matters, essentially. But you can go. That's all I wanted to say. It was someone saying that, you know, everyone's a figment of their imagination that made me think that everyone's a figment of my imagination, which then led to the thought that if that is the case, then nothing matters. And then from then on, I couldn't get that thought out of my head.
Yeah. I don't know when. Oh shit, my cat is annoying me. Um, I think when did I start to have like that idea? Like I, well, as I said, I think it's rather annoying. Um, but well, when did that start? Um, there was a time in school where I just started to, like, for some weird reason, become like like I just like your um stereotypical like pseudo philosopher, right?
Oh yes, I
And then
had a phase.
yeah, right. And hmm, it's like I think I don't know. I really hmm, it was like almost even a normal thought, like from people around me. I think um, but like I don't know. I try to treat things as if they um matter like in a context. To me it's like difficult to remember because I'm an intuitive dominant and SI inferior type.
You know what I'm almost thinking is that um, perhaps why it's even more, perhaps potentially could be more prevalent in extroverted intuitive DOMs is once you have that idea that like not that there's a potential that nothing can matter.
Mm-hmm, hmm.
Any extroverted intuitives have a hard time letting go of possibilities. we love possibilities and we never want to shut down a possibility completely because there's always some chance that that possibility could come to fruition. Um, so I think that it could be potentially likely that any DOMs are more predisposed. I can speak English. Predisposed to getting stuck into nihilism because once we've thought about it, we never can let go of that idea because to let go of that idea is to let go of a possibility. And even though we don't like the possibility, the idea of letting go of the possibility is worse than the actual possibility itself.
Mm, well, I mean, hmm, yeah, yeah, I agree. Um, it's especially, it's not just that the idea is like stays the same because, um, well, at least from my experience, usually whenever I reconsider something, there there's a chance. No, wait. There, I get like I progress that thought further. Like there's something new I find about that idea. Um, so it's not just holding on to a possibility to me. Well, not nihilism, like generally, but it's it's also like progressing the thought further to understand it better. And I think what that also makes us really bad deciders, as in, well, like, no, that was German, um, as in like an IJ, who's like more the opposite, or EJs too. Um, what? These two. Never. Yeah, I think you get what I'm saying. Like just this moment is a great example because I can't decide on what sentence I want to use.
Yes.
But um, right, this idea of, okay, the more I think about this, the better my decision will be, because of the because I'm more informed on this. And it's just that way you never really get to decide on anything because you just reconsider the whole topic further.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
And I think that would be especially problematic having TI more
Mhm.
so than FI because FI at a certain point chooses what they want to believe in a lot of ways, which is probably why people don't take ENFPs as seriously. Um, but I mean, there's arguments for why people wouldn't take ENTPs all that seriously either. Um, but actually, what you were saying about following an idea and continuing to follow down the idea, I do that too. And actually, there's a character in my novel who is the representation of an extroverted intuitive dominant, and her special ability. So, like, they all have this special ability with a program computer chip that goes into the back of their neck, makes them capable of superhuman brain things, makes them super smart. Anyway, this character, the NE dominant, they can see 1,000 possibilities all at once and then come back to the leader and be like, here's what I saw, here's a few examples. And the leader can then choose which one is most likely to happen. But
Mhm.
the extroverted intuitive is like, I see 1,000 different possibilities all at one single time.
Holy shit.
My
Okay,
book
that's
is so exciting because I do that. Every character, I give them some like representation of a power based off their personality type, but that's the
mhm.
anyone.
Huh. Yeah, definitely message me when you finished.
I
Did you?
know. I need to finish. I finished the second book, but the second book doesn't have as much of that metaphysical stuff in it. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, it does, but the second book is more. Um, it more takes place in a single location within this ether realm, um, and talks about, you know, the problems with getting attached to an alternative reality. Whereas the first
Mm-hmm.
one is talking about uh, consumerism and stuff. Um, there's a whole process for my books. I'm really working on my NI, I promise. Um, but the book is called Phoenix Alpha, at least the first one. There's Phoenix Alpha, Beta, Charlie, Delta, Fox, and Echo. Um, but Phoenix Alpha is the one where you see that ability in particular.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Think so.
Sorry, someone in the comments asked what the book was called.
Okay. Great. Okay.
You guys need to pressure me to finish it because I've been really slacking. Because nobody's holding me accountable except myself. And that doesn't work.
I'm actually noticing that like just wanting to be a bit more responsible over time, like 1.5 one like 1.5 years. Um, I've like improved over time. I think. Um, Actually, you can see there that it's just a note from when I messed up one exam and like it frustrated me so much. From there on, I think I really started to like realize that I should I kind of have to study for exams now, um, because otherwise I might not get the not graduate with with um, the grades that I wanted to graduate. Um, but like, like luckily that worked, and now I'm trying to get like good grades and stuff like that, and be responsible and like really try to only focus on that. Like, I don't really play video games and all that stuff anymore. Just
Good.
yeah, it's surprising to me. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, actually,
And
I've noticed that you're not on Discord as much, which leads me to believe you're not gaming as much.
hmm yeah, but it could also be that I'm just not starting it. So that might be a source of error in your study, your elaborate study on
I've been
on
keeping notes, just keeping so many notes on you and your behavior.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
actually, that's something that extroverted intuitive DOMs do. Even though we don't keep a real list, we do watch other people's behavior and kind of like pay attention to patterns that we notice, which I think is like the SI. Like we see a person and we watch the changes and we actually like can pay attention. We can't necessarily we predict too many opportunities or options, but we can pretty accurately like measure if we pay attention.
And like, if we if we limit the question enough to okay, this person, blah, I don't know, this
Exactly.
pattern or whatever. Um, because otherwise, like, it's just so much to like. You can notice that in the jumpiness of any DOM. It's just I had a good metaphor. Um, it's like okay, it's like intuition, but like extroverted. So it's more like it's around you, not really something you or like from within you or whatever. So it's like you can look at a cube and walk around it and see it from like different angles or whatever. But especially because you have weak SI, you
Can
don't
you
pay
go
attention to
closer to
yourself.
your mic? I can't hear you.
Shit. Okay. So okay, extroverted intuition, and that's extroverted. So it's more like the information is like around you. So if like imagine like a cube or whatever, like you can go around it and stuff like that, right? But because we have SI last and don't really pay attention like enough, we just process that last. We don't really. look at where we are going or where we are, like even in conversation, um, and just like we're suddenly somewhere else and we lost focus on like what the question was or whatever, because we looked at all these interesting cubes in front of us from different angles, and now we have no idea what cube was the original one. Um, so yeah, I think that's a good metaphor for that.
I really like that metaphor, and actually, that's the exact reason that I like to have people with with introverted intuition around or
Mm.
extroverted sensing, so they can be like, "We were talking about this, like let's bring it back to this."
Mm.
Like ENFJs, I think are the best at like diplomatically bringing you back on topic where you don't feel well. And the thing is, like, because we have this extroverted intuition where everything is new and shiny, you can bring us back on topic anytime and we won't even care because we can just switch right into that new topic
Mm.
even if it's back to an original topic, like like just a snap of a finger. So like we don't feel like it's rude, but I'm sure people probably find it rude for us to like sometimes just go way off topic.
It's not. It just happens. I don't notice this. I notice it. I don't actually also don't really notice how people like how I appear to people. Um, yeah, I would. I don't want to go on this tangent, but I would equate it with FESI. That like it's because it's like the pair of those two basically
Yeah.
makes me
I
feel that.
think
But
I
yeah,
think you'll get better at that as you get older.
mm,
I mean,
yeah,
I'm still working on it and I'm like how many? I'm older than you and I'm still working on it. So
mm, yeah. I think just never
um,
stop. Like,
exactly.
mm,
And it's the opposite problem for people who are aware of how they're coming off to think less about it, whereas we have to think a little bit more about it as we get older and be a little
mm,
bit more aware. Um, but uh, I think we should probably try to wrap it up. It's been about an hour and a half. Did you have anything else
yeah.
pressing about the topic that you were thinking about, or?
One thing was when I was talking about how I became a bit more responsible. You kind of cut me off there.
Oh, sorry.
Was it's just not so problem. It's that I, it's like also easier and more interesting to study for certain courses. For example, like maths, like especially with YouTube videos, I can only recommend that if anyone is still in school here and has problems with studying. Oh my god, my
Don't
page.
get distracted by it.
Yeah, I was finished, but like still, it's funny. I didn't know.
No, I think to follow up on that, that is a skill and a problem that we extroverted intuitives have, is that some things are really easy to learn because they're fun and
Mm,
they're exciting and there's so many things to think about. I also really enjoyed math in school. It was one of my favorite subjects, even though most people are like, math is boring. And I'm just like, you're just not even paying attention because math is awesome.
yeah.
I got bored in history class because I didn't like hearing facts spewed at
Oh my
me
god,
all day.
history.
I do like the application of history knowledge. That is interesting. But to just talk about history is just like, can you sum this up for me, please?
Mm,
oh, someone is asking,
yeah, I saw it.
they don't understand um, if you can be using two at once. I, oh, you go first and then I'll answer
Okay,
my opinion.
so the way I imagine it is that it's kind of relative to what you're actually doing, like what the problem. If you have to solve 1 plus 1, like it's not a difficult thing. You don't, for example, you don't really need introverted thinking or whatever, right? It's almost like you don't even have to use any like cognitive power for that. But if you have a more difficult thing, like a really complex problem, then um, I see it as like you would have like a like a internal um, maybe like how do you say it? Probability of what you're gonna use, but that's just your normal like approach to it. Using something at the same time is probably like switching the light, like like it could be just really fast. Maybe I don't know. Wait, multitasking. I'm not sure if that works with humans, but like I think you get what I mean. Just like really switching quickly. Maybe for example with my NE and my TI, I would use the NE to look at like the thing and like get the intuitions and like look at it from different angles, get new ideas. While with TI, I'm trying to decode these ideas like pretty much simultaneously.
Right. I actually agree with that a lot, and I'm going to kind of add to that a little bit because using ENFPs and ENTPs as an example, and Toby, I think, said in a comment that Toby's an ENFP, so also an extroverted intuitive Dom. So, what happens when you're an extroverted intuitive is you're looking at all these ideas outside of yourself, and that's happening pretty much constantly, but then it has to be filtered. The thing is, you don't turn that filter on. Well, I mean, you can turn it on and off,
Mm-hmm.
but those ideas cycle through that filter. You're not, well, you could actually be doing things simultaneously, but to express it, you're only going to be able to express one aspect of it at a time. Um, so I also agree that it's flipping back and forth, but I also think that sometimes you can be using them simultaneously or at least so closely together that it's imperceivable. Kind of like if you a, a cat drinking water, their tongue is actually moving faster than you can see. Look it up. Um, but that doesn't mean that their tongue isn't moving like back and forth. It's just
Oh,
faster
right.
than you can see. So flipping between the functions can often be like that, where it is faster than even you can comprehend. It's happening though. Um, so, with that logic, you could say, if you'd like, that it's simultaneous because you're perceiving it from your perspective as simultaneous because it's happening so fast, you're not seeing the difference. Um, but yeah, I do think I think your brain has the capability to do multiple processes at once, but like even trying to um ideate in my mind the possibility of doing multiple processes on the same thing at the same time seems very unlikely. I think it would still go through some kind of cycle. Like a because synapses in your brain are firing and they're like moving through your the energy is moving through your brain. There's no way to like, well, I don't know. It's all a matter of what measurement you're using and how accurately you can measure. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm convincing myself of two different possibilities at the same time. Extroverted intuitive problems.
Mm, yeah, I know. I feel you. Yeah, man. That's definitely a problem. Like the contradictions.
Yes,
Like
I'm such a
no,
walking
it gets
contradiction.
better the more you think about it. Like I don't know, a month or so, and you'll have a pretty refined idea. But it takes time.
Yes, actually, um, that's exactly, I think, part of why I've been struggling to work on my book is because I'm past the creating ideas stage and I'm at the refining it and making it like a cohesive thing all the way through. Um, and it's not as fun. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
limiting. It makes me not be able to create more. Um, Creating more is just elongating the process, which is all fine and dandy. But if I want an end result, like I have to refine eventually. So,
Hmm. Yeah, that's usually something I like to I like to just hammer out ideas and let other people work with them and make them better or whatever. Like, here you go with this stuff I found,
yes.
and I think it's makes sense now. Do something.
Yes, actually, in our first conversation, that's something that we talked about. What would be the ideal job for an
Right, yeah.
extroverted intuitive Dom would
Hmm.
be to be an idea generator and let other people create and manifest the ideas. We're just like, here's ideas. You do with them what you want. I can come up with them for days.
But we had it a bit more like defined, right? Like
We
we also
did.
had the being able to explain it, and make it like useful, like that they can at least other people understand what we want to tell them and stuff like that.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, like after that, implementation isn't really our thing, I think.
Yes. We We actually can narrow down ideas and find ideas that we think are the best. That's
Hmm.
what our second function is for. It's for filtering all those ideas. So we can come up with some killer ideas.
Yeah.
But
It takes so long because everything has to be considered. Otherwise, I'm not sure about you, but like to me, I'm not at all satisfied. I'm like, oh, there's this thing, look at that. You know what I mean? If I don't, then I don't know. Like I can't.
exactly. This could be better. This could be better. Let me make
Hmm.
sure this is as best as it can. Oh, but if I do that, then that's going to affect this.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So, yeah. No, I really like at my current job actually because I come up with ideas often. I'm like, hey guys, here's this idea I've been working on. And when they actually are like, yes, I'm going to implement it, I'm like, hallelujah. Such a dream come true.
Mm. But so
Shh.
yeah, I don't want to open up a new topic, especially because originally, like 10 minutes ago, you wanted to wrap this whole thing up. So I don't know.
Well, um, that's probably for the best. I knew that it would take us a few minutes to wind down, as
Yeah.
it always does. Um, But I guess I just want to say thanks everyone for watching, hanging out with us, philosophizing and chilling. I'm sure my volume got higher than I uh,
Same.
intended it to.
Hmm.
um, but thanks so much for watching. We always appreciate you and your input and your silly things that you're saying in chat, such as Pakoki becoming a cat because she said it enough times. That was pretty fun. Do you have any final words?
Um, you might be able to see me reach for my computer mouse now. I think yeah, you can. Um, like maybe I don't know. If that's okay with you, I'm probably quite sure maybe eventually that I'll probably do this kind of stream again if there's time.
It's always a
Um,
pleasure having these conversations.
yeah, yeah. I have to say it's fun, you know, especially with the chat, and I'll definitely rewatch this and see if I was a bit more coherent. Um, yeah, if you want to, I think if you want to see us interact more, I don't know, you you have the other two streams like still upload, I think, right?
Yeah, I'm actually working on making them individual videos that I'm still deciding if I'm just going to release them all at once or slowly release them. If I slowly release them, though, one of them is, well, two of them are about Jordan Peterson. So
Hmm.
there's that to consider. Like, do I want people to hate me for having Jordan Peterson conversations or to just watch me for Jordan Peele. So it's questions I need to ask, but
Yeah,
yeah. Anyway,
definitely.
we'll definitely be having another conversation soonish. Um, and we talk anyway, but thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful, amazing, fantastic night, and we'll see you.
See ya.
Bye.